All right. So thank you so much, everybody, for attending the conference and for coming to this session with Jacob Powell. I am Caleb Trujillo. I'm the online community coordinator for BYU Idaho Online Instruction. It's our privilege to have you. So I'll give a quick introduction of Jacob. Jacob Powell teaches CS 340 for us. That's Web Backend Development. He is from Provo, Utah, or lives in Provo, Utah. And the title, as you can see here, is Where There Is No Vision, the People Perish, from Proverbs 29:18. Jacob has been a practicing attorney for 15 years and a computer programmer for 30 years. He grew up in Simi Valley, California, served a mission in Hungary, earned a bachelor's, master's, and Juris Doctorate degree from BYU, and is now married to the former Shelley Evans with 3 children, and serves as a high counselor in his stake. Jacob loves writing songs, learning foreign languages, eating Hungarian sausages, and laughing at puns. My wife loves puns. 2020 is Jacob's first year teaching online at BYU Idaho, where he teaches back-end web programming. So he hasn't been with us long. We're blessed to have you. His prior teaching experience includes teaching a handful of adjunct courses in legal studies at Utah Valley University. In addition to teaching online, Jacob practices law part-time and runs a small online software business from home. Now, we have a lot of content to cover today, so we are hoping to carve out 2 to 5 minutes at the end for any sort of question and answer. Feel free to, throw some comments or thoughts into the chat. I'll be moderating that. Jacob's just going to cruise right through the presentation. So without further ado, I'll just turn the time over to Jacob. Thank you.
Thanks, Caleb. So when I submitted my presentation idea to be considered for this conference, I took the title from the words of King Solomon the Wise, hoping it would disguise my foolishness and asking to present even though I'm a brand new online instructor just hired this year. But foolish or not, the topic of inspiring vision is something I feel passionate about. My life is full of people who've given me a glimpse of clear vision. One of them is my old institute director, Norm Barlow, who passed away last year. Norm once told us the story of how he came to wear glasses. Back in his college days, he was walking with a friend who told him there was a group of girls sunbathing on the roof. Norm didn't see them on the roof of this building, and his friend said, "You need glasses, Norm. Here, try mine." And Norm put them on to go along with the joke. But he was looking at a tree at this time, and trees had always been fuzzy to Norm, and he just sort of accepted that. But he told us that when he put on those glasses, suddenly I saw thousands of tiny leaves. He took the glasses on and off, and he forgot all about the roof. Until that glimpse of clear vision, Norm had never internalized that he needed glasses, not personally, not really. And it all began with a glimpse. C. Rick Snyder, a positive psychologist, is known for saying, where there's a way, there's a will, a turnaround of the old adage, where there's a will, there's a way. Too often, people look like they have no willpower to solve a problem, but in fact, they just have no way power because they do not see a way to solve it. Having no way power leads to feelings of frustration, powerlessness, and even depression that lock up a person's willpower. Helping a student build way power often boils down to making a tiny connection, a path from A to B. Tiny connections can be powerful. When I plug in Christmas lights, the system seems dead until that one tiny connection brings it to life. Human beings can get stuck in darkness, but as the offspring of the living God, their potential for light and life is inherent, yet it gets locked up until they discover truths, those tiny connections that show the way. The calling of a teacher is to help that process along. The prophet Joseph Smith said, "Reading the experience of others can never give us a comprehensive view. Could you gaze into heaven 5 minutes, you would know more than you would by reading all that ever was written on the subject." I feel like I've had teachers who've helped me get that 5-minute heavenly gaze, and I dream of being one of them. But the most of the time, I end up feeling more like this guy. the last semester in my web programming class I teach, students were doing a project where they had to make their web page handle and filter some user input data. I noticed that a lot of students seemed confused about that, and they didn't quite seem to grasp what they were doing. So I'm like, okay, here's my moment. So I made what I thought was a pretty great video. It showed little computers with arrows saying, here's what happens when the browser sends the message to the server and backwards and so forth. And I was feeling pretty good until a student emailed me saying, great video. Could you provide some examples showing when I would use this in real life? Ouch. Crash goes my dream of having just been Mr. Life-Changing Visionary. I thought I nailed it, but this student didn't know even what I nailed. So it didn't matter at this juncture. The question, when would I use this, can be disorienting and frustrating, even annoying for a teacher, but it's an extremely important question. Neurologist Julie Willis says, it's necessary for learners to attach a new piece of information to an old one, or it just won't stick. So if you can manage to be successful at answering that annoying question, when would I ever use this, for a student, then suddenly whatever you're teaching enables them to see thousands of tiny leaves for the first time. In education, vision is the way power connecting your subject to the future. And it has to connect to the student's existing knowledge. So you see there's two links here, and they reveal two kinds of vision, short-term vision and long-term vision. Short-term vision has to do with the first leg, connecting the subject to what they already know. How do I solve this problem? How do I finish this class? How do I do well on assignments and tests? How do I manage my time or balance life with school and get stuff done? How do I use this in my current job? Every one of you have students who are struggling with these short-term connections, and their willpower gets locked up because they lack way power. Long-term vision has to do with seeing how the subject connects to their future. Where does it fit in life? How can I use it to build my career? How will it make me grow as a person? How can it bless my family? How will it help me serve and make the world a better place? You unlock these connections and you unlock students' willpower for long-term achievement, grit, and deep learning, because you've shown a way to have persistence for the future. The scriptures say that Captain Moroni, in a desperate battle where his people were about to shrink from their enemies, inspired their hearts with thoughts of their lands and liberty and freedom from bondage. This glimpse of clear long-term vision unlocked their willpower for grit and persistence. Your attempts to inspire long-term vision might do the same for your students in their battle for their future. The trouble is, of course, that sometimes your signals miss. As a teacher, you're like a radio broadcasting station. You send out announcements, videos, and feedback, and you have no idea how your signals are being received. This is extra true in an online environment, and it can be disconcerting, at least it is for me, not seeing how things are received. But since you know so little about what will stick, your best strategy is to use multiple signals. Every glimpse of clear vision counts. Every approach might stick. So I want to discuss 4 different approaches to helping students catch vision. The 4 approaches are bottom up, top down, outside in, and inside out. You'll notice these are directional words. These are all different angles to give students the same glimpse of clear vision. To illustrate the different angles, I'll use the familiar metaphor of forests and trees. The forest represents the big picture and the trees represent the little picture or details. I'll use the example of teaching students to filter user input from a web page. That's what I'm teaching, and I'll say it from these 4 angles. A bottom-up approach to catching the vision starts out focusing on the tree roots and works its way up the trunk. A bottom-up approach to help students catch the vision about filtering user input from a web page would go straight into the specifics and low-level details. I might make an announcement or video talking about exactly how to code it or illustrate processes that are going on in the web browser and the server when the code gets run, or give feedback on a specific problem with the student's assignment. A top-down approach to catching the vision starts at the forest view, the big picture, and reaches downward. A top-down approach to help my students catch the vision about handling and filtering user input might chart out where the method we're using fits in the grander scheme of data security, or where it fits in the class outline, or where it could fit into their future career. Outside-in approaches to catching the vision start not at the forest, but the entire ecosystem, and move inward or point inward, discussing processes and interactions outside the tree and even the forest that affect the world the tree exists in. An outside-in approach to help my students catch the vision about handling and filtering user input would be, say, to talk about how filtering user input is similar to the way a human blood cell filters chemicals, or similar to the way the atmosphere filters out ultraviolet rays and gamma rays so the sun doesn't fry us, help them catch the vision in that way. An inside-out approach to catching the vision starts from the view of the tree or the tree species and expands outward, discussing its uniqueness, role, and influence on the ecosystem or the world. An inside-out approach to helping my students catch the vision about methods of filtering user input might discuss the role of filtering data in the broader world of guarding against bugs, or guarding against security breaches by hackers. And anyway, all four of these approaches can be mixed and combined and can be used to hit elements of either short-term or long-term vision. Now, I wish we had more time to talk about these, but I'm going to fly through what I can and hopefully generate some ideas about each of these four kinds. The bottom-up approaches are all about details, experience, and experimentation. They focus on discovery, exploring, and direct application to the task at hand. A favorite quote of mine comes from computing pioneer Grace Hopper. She says, "One accurate measurement is worth 1,000 expert opinions." True learning always starts from the bottom. Every discovery that has changed the world all started with someone's hands in the dirt, because the dirt is where the big revelations happen. And so that's the idea of where bottom-up points to. One class of bottom-up methods has to do with helping students connect with the problem. Everything you teach solves a problem or fills a need, exposing or magnifying the problem, challenging them with a problem they can't solve until they learn what you're teaching, talking about old unsolved problems and how the thing you're teaching solved them, describing the need, telling the stories about it. You don't always realize how important this is because you don't always see how badly your students have not connected with the problem. To illustrate the difference, here's a personal example. In high school, I took 2 years of French. I was the star student. I got great grades, but after 2 years, I didn't become very competent in French. Why? Because I didn't connect with the need to get fluent. I only connected with the need to get good grades. Contrast that to when I served my mission in Hungary. As a missionary, my need to become fluent in Hungarian was obvious and pressing. I had a life-changing message and a divine commission to share it, and until I could speak Hungarian well, there were people who would never hear it. And seeing it that way made it a totally different experience than high school French. I spent every spare moment learning in whatever way I could think of, and I achieved fluency in 6 months, all because I connected with the problem bottom up. Another class of bottom-up methods focuses on the solutions. We often fail to see how non-obvious the solutions are to our students. Giving specific examples of how a problem is solved, giving demonstrations that show the effect of solutions, doing review sessions after an assignment or before a test, giving detailed feedback that shows a better way to solve a problem, making detailed explanations that show how a solution's worked out. They're all good examples of bottom-up methods to help students catch the vision. Focusing on the problem generates willpower, but connecting with the solution generates way power that unlocks that willpower. To illustrate that idea, James E. Talmage told a story from when he was in college in the late 1800s. Every student had a gas lamp to study at night. And when a lamp salesman came by, James wasn't interested and just wanted to show off his own lamp. The salesman listened until James was done, showed respect and praise for James's lamp, and then demoed his. Elder Talmage said, "Its light made bright the remotest corner of my room. In its brilliant blaze, my own little argand wick burned a weak, pale yellow. Until that moment of convincing demonstration, I had never known the dim obscurity in which I had lived and labored, studied, and struggled." Another class of bottom-up method focuses on the learning process itself. Bottom-up learning is not pretty, and we often underestimate how much encouragement can make a difference. So in your announcements, videos, and feedback, peppering in stories about invention, discovery, grit, persistence, deep learning, having pep talks about these subjects, or little one-liners can be a helpful bottom-up approach to helping them catch the vision. Top-down approaches are all about focusing on the big picture, the overview, seeing context, getting oriented, making learning organized, seeing where you are in that picture or where you are in the learning process. Where bottom-up approaches strike at a person's need to connect with problems and solutions on the ground level, top-down methods strike at a person's need for organization and making sense of the world from the 10,000-foot high aerial view. One class of top-down methods focuses on organization. In announcements and videos, you throw in roadmaps, outlines, charts, diagrams, give an overview, talk about processes, classifications, organization of materials. A roadmap makes a big difference when you're exploring a new area. A recent experience that... Sorry? I think someone needs, anyway. A recent experience that helped me appreciate this came when I worked with a speech therapist to help my son pronounce his R's better. I was very impressed with how quickly the speech therapist had helped him because I couldn't help him. And a great revelatory moment came when I complained about how at home my son was doing a good job saying his R's right one word at a time, but when I tried to have a conversation with him, he stopped doing it right and got frustrated, and I got frustrated. The speech therapist gave me a look that seemed to say, "You poor fool." And he showed me this simple linear progression chart shaped like stair steps. I have thought about this chart over and over again. He explained that my son was on step 3, single words, and even trying to do 2 words at a time was very distracting for him at this point. I was running into frustration at home because I was trying to skip to step 8, regular speed conversation, which was sure to be impossibly distracting for him. That one glimpse of clear vision illustrated beautifully to me what a caveman I'd been with my approach and how I might evolve. Another class of top-down methods top-down approaches focuses on the idea of the "you are here" sticker, using simple signals, titles, breadcrumb trails, recaps, previews. A great example of this kind of approach is how many instructors display the whole rubric whenever they give feedback, something that signals where a person is. We often fail to appreciate how lost students get without these kind of signals. The concept of the "you are here" sign is a powerful one. When I was little and my family went to the mall, I learned to look for the "you are here" signs. The funny thing is, from a map maker's perspective, putting on a "you are here" sticker takes maybe a few seconds and almost no mental effort. It might not seem very important, but from the map reader's perspective, that tiny act that took the map maker a few seconds may save large amounts of time and effort. And the more detailed the map is, the more effort it saves for the reader, because a detailed map, no matter how well made, really looks like chaos at first to the map reader. Not because it's a bad map, but because it's detailed and it's new. In fact, there's no way to design a map so well that this phenomenon does not occur. An online class is very much like a detailed map. The fact is, if you're the student, it's a big bag of chaos that gets unceremoniously dumped in your lap. My first experience in an online class actually came this year when I was hired to teach for BYU Idaho and took the training class. And I'll tell you, that's exactly how I felt. I'm a seasoned learner, so I knew how to get over it. But some struggle more than others, and your presence with a friendly "you are here" sign makes a difference. Another class of top-down methods focuses on the learning process. Learning can be a frustrating process, especially for those that are having a slow time of it. Learning can be, we often fail to appreciate how students are learning how to learn and have difficulty seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Talking about learning, making roadmaps of the learning process, stories of your own learning process, and some encouragement to go, they all go a long way. A great top-down roadmap of the learning process comes from Thomas Gordon. He calls it the 4 stages for learning any new skill. You always start in the unconscious incompetence stage, where you don't have a fuzzy idea of the line between what you know and what you don't know. When I was 10 years old and learning to program computers, I found that the quickest way out of this stage was to brag to my friends about what I could do with a computer and then try to perform. And that brought me quickly into the conscious incompetence stage. In this humbling stage, fantasy clashes with reality and reality wins. The line between what you know and what you don't know becomes clear, sometimes painfully so. Reality can be cruel and unforgiving, but it's a great teacher, and those who accept it can reach the conscious competence stage, the stage of hard work and determination where you spend a lot of time beating your head against obstacles, seeming contradictions, and brain-breaking problems, wanting the answer to be one thing, but persevering long enough to find out what the answer really is. During this painful but exciting phase, little insights and revelations change the way you think. Time and practice bring a person into the unconscious competence phase, where the skills get incorporated into muscle memory, freeing up our minds to learn more skills. So learning starts unconscious and ends unconscious. But the problem in terms of teaching is that this means that to become an expert, you actually had to stop thinking about what you were doing. That's why the student asks, when would I use this? And you're thinking, when wouldn't I use this? And somewhere along the road to the answers, you had to lose touch with the question. Many of us are skilled at walking, but few of us know how to teach somebody to walk. If you want to get back in touch with what it feels like to be in the earlier stages of learning, try writing with the wrong hand or trying to bicycle with your arms crossed. I tried this once. It was a real learning experience. Try learning a totally new profession. Try contemplating honestly how good you are at skills we should all improve on, like forgiving, loving your neighbor, receiving personal revelation, standing for truth in the face of pressure. You'll quickly remember what it feels like to be your student. Outside-in approaches are all about fishing for connections where the students might attach new pieces of information you're giving to old ones. We don't realize how much students have not made these connections. Your focus starts outside your subject, aiming for things they already know or have heard of or are already comfortable with. You may recognize that this method was employed a lot by the master himself. His message was new and life-changing, so it was at least to some extent unfamiliar. But he taught using references to familiar subjects like sowing seeds, herding sheep, finding a lost coin, forgiving debts, putting new wine in old bottles. So why should we do this in our teaching? If the subject is unfamiliar, this method's important because students know more outside the subject than inside it. So outside is where the connections are. And when you connect the unknown to the known, you create a sense of security. You're creating scaffolding that allows them to stretch taller than they would on their own. But if the subject is familiar to your learners, this method works even better because outside connections help deepen understanding and help people see how to teach. Right now, I'm talking to you, a group of experienced teachers, and I'm a brand new teacher. But when I talk about putting on glasses for the first time, missing radio signals, doing "you are here" signs, and you're immediately starting to feel your understanding deepen, not because of what I know, but because of what you know that you're connecting it with. Outside-in methods tend to be interdisciplinary. You can connect with related subjects or unrelated but familiar subjects, share personal insights as well as metaphors and parables. Those are great outside-in methods. Finally, inside-out approaches focus on the core of the subject, the inner voice, and then expand outward to its role and influence on the world. Where outside-in methods talk about connections and similarities, inside-out methods highlight the differences, uniqueness, and importance and effect on the world. Inside-out approaches tend to capture the dynamic living nature of the subject. We often don't realize how much students have never captured this. When I think of inside-out methods, I think of what Boyd K. Packer taught when he was a mission president in New England at a zone conference. His wife baked a beautiful chocolate cake. He asked, "Who wants a piece?" And when one of his missionaries asks for one, he plunges his fist and tears out a piece with frosting oozing through his hand and throws it at the disbelieving missionary, splattering it on his suit. And he then asks, "Would anyone else like some cake?" And for some reason, he said there were no takers. But then he took out a nice dish, a fork and a napkin, and cut a piece from the other side of the cake with great dignity and asked, "Would anyone like a piece?" And the response was different. He observed it was the same cake in both cases, the same flavor, the same nourishment. The manner of serving either made it inviting, even enticing, or uninviting, even repulsive or revolting. The takeaway here is that no matter how great our subject is, the presentation matters because students have not yet connected to the core of the subject. Inside-out methods tend to focus on the... What's that?
We've got about a minute left.
Yep, I think I got about a minute left of doing things.
Great.
Inside-out methods tend to focus on the essence and greatness of the subject. Every subject has a song. Singing it gives it personality and meaning. You talk about its relevance, history, and unique place in the world. And that helps you students connect with it inside out. So at this point, it's time to go fishing for connections with our students. And if you're still feeling like this guy, you can still remember that every glimpse of clear vision counts. Every angle is a good angle. Every day is an opportunity. Play to your strengths and build from there. I wish I had time for questions. I'm guessing from what Caleb says, I have like 0 time. Where are we at, Caleb?
Yeah, pretty much. We're at 7:35 right now.
Yes, sir.
But that was awesome. Thank you so much. I know my head's just reeling with so many ideas to potentially incorporate into my own classes, right? Now, I'd like everyone to, you feel free to throw in the chat a nice thank you, slow clap, very nice. What I've put in the chat is a link to where this recording is going to live in the online community. Feel free to go in and put any questions there. Jacob's going to be monitoring that chat as well, so that he can answer any questions, so that we can extend the discussion, and there we can continue to learn from what Jacob's presented, right? So I do encourage you to bookmark that, or go ahead and right now ask any questions that you may have thought of. With that, I'll stop the recording, but thanks so much, Jacob. Again, awesome job. We appreciate it.